You have to be in a place that supports it, right?
Yeah, so,
you really do. I mean, there's a lot about environment there. That's probably a lot of offline discussion. But.
okay, so traditionally in businesses, high-up managers make a lot of money, and the people that don't manage don't, right? That's one of the things we're talking about, right? Career path, buy a house, all that stuff. In this area, I can't imagine a designer or a developer not being able to buy a house, but in that most people are paid pretty well. But there is, I mean, are you guys, are the VP level person not managing? Does that exist?
Yes,
We
Adiba.
have,
Yeah.
yes, we have.
Yeah,
We
so there's
definitely have
not,
that.
We
Yeah,
have.
that's awesome. I mean, it seems like it's great. Any other questions? That was a really good one. Okay, yeah. You can go ahead and ask. I'll repeat it if you'd like, but all right. It's on.
Since you talk about QA, right, testing, so it's always been a problem that how does a QA engineer come into play in front-end development? Also, so for example, that all QA engineer is an engineering background, right? So they definitely test cross-browser issues and to check if something broken, the UI in the interaction. But how about the design issues? So is there anyone can check if there is one piece off or the color of the text doesn't align with the markup? Yeah.
So are you asking how do you do test-driven development for client-side web applications?
No, actually I'm asking, so in the whole testing process, right? So basically we only test engineering features before the build rollout.
How do you test design features?
Yeah, who is going to take care of design issues? Are we going to invite designers to join QA team to actually look at design?
I can speak to that. I expect my designers to be a part of the process, start to finish, and we do attend bug bashes, and we're entering bugs constantly. So it's that's my expectation. I don't know if it's that way across the board.
Matt?
Yeah, I would say there's a general feel of, it's everybody's responsibility to identify bugs and make the product better. Our product is a paid service, so there's a level of quality expectation for people who are paying $8 a month that it works really well and is relatively bug free. So I think we have a little less luxury of putting out.
Was that a dig at Facebook?
No, not at all. And in a lot of ways, I think we wish we could move even faster. I think we move relatively fast, but there is that expectation that I think customers have. We love our QA, and we have much more QA on the associated with the user experience team and the UI engineering teams. Our backend teams have been able to automate a lot more. We found automating user experience in UI can be done to a certain extent on desktop, PC, Mac, but on devices it's much more difficult. And I'm not sure that we've really reaped the rewards of trying to automate a lot of that. And our QAs are, they're really trying to look at it from an end customer experience, not so much following a set of test cases.
Yeah, the testing space in discrete devices, non-general computers, is really hard. And I commend you guys on what you do. I'm always impressed when it works.
and that's why, going back to what I mentioned earlier, we try to get test engineering involved very early on so they really understand what we're trying to go after, not whether it meets some set of test cases and specification. Like, is this the right experience for a customer? Does this work for me or not?
Right, cool. Anybody else?
At Facebook, we don't explicitly test UI. What we've done instead is invest heavily in common UI components, CSS standards, libraries, APIs. So it's very easy to build consistent UI. So what you'll notice is like all the buttons look the same, have the same font, have the same color. All of the buttons that are supposed to be a different, like a cancel button, they all look the same. So it's more of an investment in the infrastructure for UI that helps us build consistent UI.
Davis?
Yeah, I'd say that being the unabashed Agile guy up here, Agile practices get hammered. Test-driven gets hammered because of the no QA. Not that I'm bashing Facebook with this at all. What we found, to more answer your question, is that, and I worked on a project for most of last year that was for a large very large user base application, a new application for them.
Come on, tell us the name.
I can't do that.
Okay.
Sorry, it's not that exciting. It never really shipped, but that's a whole nother story. They need more beer in me for that one. But what was interesting about that was they wanted to shower us with QA people. Like they literally wanted 5 people to be sitting with us before there was a design. So we didn't know what we were building, frankly.
Wow.
Which is one of the reasons why it didn't really ship. But I'll stop ranting on an old client. But what we find is that if you are test driving all your code, you're building a regression suite essentially as you go, right? So when you add new feature in a new area, and it's reliant on, you've got a new button on Facebook pages, say for example, and the button, turns out your button library didn't handle a certain size of text, and let's assume that you can test that. I'm getting into an eddy. Help me out here, kids. Anyway, so that you would have tests that would never go out to production before you had a green test suite that said buttons of certain size in that library, right? Wherever that got fixed. Okay, that's good. That means that you're getting the feature out to the point where you can get it closer to shipping. There's a term, and one of my colleagues just wrote a book about it called exploratory testing, and this is where we find traditional QA sort of slots in. If you have a lot of automation and in the development all the way up to unit tests all the way up to integration tests, you still need somebody in product ownership and in QA to say that experience doesn't work, or we've built all these pieces together and at the point they're actually integrated, maybe all your tests are green, but if the user doesn't sign up for your service, you're not getting $1 from them, right? And we find that that's a really good place to put people. Even before usability testing, which we also advocate heavily. Put this exploratory testing, which, in a job that I had 7 or 8 years ago might have been called black box testing, but they're not testing everything. They're really trying to use the product and finding those holes. What we like to do, and this did work, this is one of the things that worked on this client, was when the QA people found those holes, we turned them into tests that were part of the test suite.
Right.
So we didn't regress there, right? You find out that that button's wrong, or it winds up being rendered in the wrong spot, or the user can't click on it for some reason. You write a test that proves it fails, get that test green just like you would any other test, but that runs on every single check-in so that you don't regress and you don't find that again. And it turns out people find those problems way more easily than any engineer who has no grasp at what's going on up that upper level.
Right, so you're talking like a QA level tests because of bugs. Yeah. That's a common way to add
exactly.
tests.
And turn those bugs into test cases that you can't automate.
Okay. Time in meetings. Anybody here spend more than 10% of their week in meetings?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Your engineering team, are you the ones that buffer for the meeting? Are you the ones that do the meetings and the engineers don't have to, that are always in code? Is that, yeah? Okay. Anybody have anything else to say about meetings? Sorry. None of us we don't like talking about it.
You can't code in meetings, right?
You can?
The goal is to reduce the meetings for the engineers, I think.
Okay.
More, as much as possible, less meetings and more collaboration and talks
with
each other.
Okay, so then, of course, when you have remote, you do still need to talk. What tools are you using for remote management?
I have a team distributor in Singapore, Paris, India. What we do is Skype a lot. Skype very much. Conversations are there. We use a tool called Asana. I don't know how many of you guys know it. It's an open source. It's available. It's a really great tool for collaboration. So we can put tasks and we create projects, we create tasks. They can even give code snippets, the design wireframes, and the entire thing is tracked. The Skype, we have a tendency to, something will happen and you have to scroll so much, but here a specific task and what are needed is all tracked in Asana.
Can you pronounce it again? Asana?
A-S-A-N-A. Asana.
Okay. Any other tools like Asana that anybody else is using?
Pivotal Tracker. Thank you. Did I get that right? Wow.
Pivotal Tracker is made, of course, by Pivotal Labs. Yes. Yeah. And I've used it on a project or two, definitely. Yep. Anybody else?
We do have a task tool, but we primarily use Facebook for work. And all the Facebook metaphors in all of our tools are there. So they're like buttons everywhere. Everything notifies you. You have the red we call that the Joule notification. And so working while you're on Facebook, you're like constantly like, oh, notification. Oh, someone liked this. Oh, I like that. But it actually makes for great collaboration.
Wait, so how do you separate your life from your development?
We don't. We hire people passionate about Facebook.
Okay. Matt, do you have anything to add to this?
We don't do any remote development, so I guess it's a luxury we have is everybody's co-located, and even within our team, we're all on one floor, so there's a lot of just face-to-face whiteboarding kind of collaboration. I've heard some of the teams we've just started using HipChat for like group chat rooms, and people have found that to be kind of effective.
Okay, so I got yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say we're very old school. We're not remote located. I use a whiteboard with Post-it notes and move tasks around on that, and we have like weekly or bi-weekly stand-ups.
Okay. Are you design? Do you do a lot of design in Illustrator, or what do you use?
We use Fireworks and Photoshop.
And are you doing Wacom tablets or mouse?
Some people do. I mean, we're not prescriptive. Some people use PCs. Some people use Mac.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a lot of feedback from audience out there while we were eating and such, and it's hard to get to all of this. And I did want to talk a little bit about responsibilities in the sense of social responsibility for open source and for standards. All of you rely upon standards quite a bit for the companies to succeed. Do you raise your hands if you're participating in the W3C, employees of yours are working on the W3C and you support it, in the sense you're putting money behind it? Okay. For the people that are doing the W3C, is it part of their task load to go to meetings? No?
To W3C meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have some people who are particularly involved in a lot of the HTML5 standards on video.
Okay. Right.
So that's probably the most significant in web crypto and some of the standards around supporting video, securely in browsers.
Okay. And how do you decide what of your stuff that you do goes open source versus not? No, it's not.
For us, we have a ton of open source projects on the server side. So almost everything our server team has been building over the last few years has been open sourced. Probably about 30 or 40 different projects. On the client UI side, there's really nothing. It just seems very different. So there isn't anything we've built that has been sort of open source worthy.
Except for pushing the HTML5 video spec enough to use it.
Sort of.
So I've got we haven't done a lot. It's supposed to be debate. It's very hard to get people that are so good with people to be debating. But I will attack a little bit. I hate the fact that that everybody is pushing in the standards to have DRM in the video spec. I don't think HTML5 video should support DRM. Tell me why I'm wrong. Okay, so all these companies don't support that. No?
So you think that there shouldn't be a DRM shouldn't be a component of the HTML5 video spec?
I think that the issue with it is the patent ownership on the DRM licenses that exist. So I don't mind the idea of a content owner saying, I can provide this to you, and you have to get my license key in another way or something like that. But the fact that you basically have to close part of the system on their machine and then legislate that they can't access it by the Millennium Copyright Act seems like a really bad way to do technology. The idea of saying it's a general purpose computer, but not really. We own that part. And so when you do that in a standard, you're setting that precedence as an accepted norm publicly, and that's what I don't like. I don't have a solution to how you make money and don't have people steal from you. That's not my problem. I just don't. Well, and I shouldn't say steal. I should say copy. It's not stealing. But what?
But that is something that actually obviously is important to the content providers that we work with. And so I think there is. It will take time, but there is a way to achieve a lot of the HTML5 video standards for non-secure DRM content and still satisfy extending it in a way that can satisfy the needs of a business like Netflix at the same time.
See, that's such a good answer, isn't it?